Hi, are you ready for the CAPM Project Management Quiz Challenge? We will cover in this video 22 scenario-based questions, which is essential for you to understand the concepts behind the exam questions. Let's dive in. First question, please listen to the recording.
A project manager managing a construction project reviews its financial performance and finds an earned value, EV, of $50,000 and an actual cost, AC, of $60,000. All figures in US dollars. What can the project manager infer from this project?
So what can the project manager infer from this project? Let's see the information that was provided to us. We have actual cost, which is $60,000, and earned value so far is 50,000. So what's the cost variance? It's EV minus AC, earned value minus actual cost, which is 50,000 minus 10,000. The answer is minus 10,000, which is not negative number. Negative number means there is something wrong. It means that we are overspending. So the correct answer will be A. Question 2. Listen to the recording.
A company is initiating a large-scale infrastructure project involving regulatory approvals, strict budget constraints, and a clearly defined scope. The sponsor emphasizes minimizing uncertainty and ensuring detailed planning before execution. Why is a predictive plan-based approach the most appropriate? Choose 2.
So why do you think this is a predictive plan-based approach? Why? Is it to ensure all project phases are well defined before execution begins? Is it because it will allow greater flexibility to adjust the scope and deliverable frequently? Or because it provides structured processes to manage risks, costs, and schedule? Or because it encourages continuous feedback loops and iterative development? Or because it relies on adaptive planning to accommodate evolving requirements? We have to select two correct answers. How do you go about solving these similar questions? First of all, I need to mention that you don't have partial credit on this. So the best approach is, my point of view is, let's try process of elimination. So plan-based approach is when we know everything and we plan it from the start, and we have little change maybe in the requirements or plans. So we ensure all project phases are well defined before execution begins. Sounds like a legitimate answer. Let me move down. Allows greater flexibility, and we can adjust the scope and deliverables. No, this is actually adaptive. So let's eliminate this. Do we provide a structured process to manage risks, costs, and schedule? Sounds legit. Again, D says encourages continuous feedback loops. Continuous feedback loops It's adaptive. That's what we depend on actually in adaptive to adjust the requirements based on the client's preferences and according to their business value. Relies on adaptive planning to accommodate evolving requirements. Anyway, we should have excluded this from the start because it says relies on adaptive planning, but we are asked about plan-based approach. So the answers are A and C. Question 3. Listen to the recording.
A new employee is set to start soon. They will join a team that oversees a collection of projects and other initiatives grouped together to achieve the organization's strategic objectives. What is this called? Project, program, operations, or portfolio?
So is this a project, program, operations, or portfolio? It's a simple question, and we need to remember somehow the definition, but there is a keyword that we can use, you know. Which keyword that we find out in the question? It says that we are going to achieve organization's strategic objectives from the setup. Then the legitimate answer is not program management, it's portfolio management. And of course, the project, it says we are anyway doing multiple projects from the question collection, which means multiple. Operational management, no. It's not repetitive work then, because we are getting strategic value from arranging all this and putting it together. The legitimate answer is portfolio management. Question 4. Listen to the recording.
A project manager leading a large-scale construction project that adopts the waterfall approach is currently documenting all project requirements and defining the overall governance of the project. What will be the outcome of the project manager's exercise?
What will be the outcome of the project manager's exercise? Let's analyze this. First of all, they are saying we are adopting waterfall approach. Waterfall approach, we know that it's a traditional approach. Okay? And we need a document with all project requirements and overall governance of the project. What is this? It is for sure the project management plan. So it's not that difficult to.
A website
Question
update
5.
project has a fixed deadline with clear requirements. The team is considering iterative development to test and refine features as they are completed. Some members are unsure if this aligns with the client's expectations. What should the project manager do?
What should the project manager do in this case? Now, the way to look at this question is we have to answer from customer centricity point of view. Whatever you do, you are doing a project for people, for customers, for end users, for clients. That's why you need to satisfy them. So the best answer is confirm the client's preference for a predictive or iterative approach before proceeding. You cannot proceed with iterative development because it's good for you and your team and it gives you flexibility. and you cannot switch to predictive approach to avoid confusion. First of all, you need to get the approval from the customer. So the best answer is A. Question 6.
During execution of a university e-learning platform project, multiple stakeholders expressed dissatisfaction, claiming they are not informed about progress and key decisions. Some are questioning the platform's ability to meet their requirements. What should the project manager do?
So what should the project manager do in this case? Now this is a kind of tricky question because it did not ask us specifically when do we need, to intervene as project managers. Because the best answer is to set up a regular progress update through emails and dashboard to ensure transparency. But this is not your first action. As a project manager, you need to organize a meeting to provide a detailed project update and address key concerns. So immediately you need to meet with the stakeholders and act accordingly and address their concerns. Maybe during this meeting, you can set up a regular progress update. Well, I've tried to answer this question using the AI tool by PMI, AI Infinity. It gave me two answers, A and C. But if the question will ask what you will do first, definitely you will go with A. But if you need a long-term solution and you need to solve the solution once and forever, you do C. Question 7.
During a meeting, a team member with no prior agile experience notices the project lacks thorough definition. Seeking to understand further, they ask the project manager to explain additional potential drawbacks of working in project iterations. How should the project manager respond?
How should the project manager respond? What are the drawbacks of using agile rather than using predictive? Let's see. Iterations can make it challenging to plan for growth and development in a project. Well, I'm not sure. Maybe, let's see. It sounds okay. Answer. Iterations can make it challenging to manage chunks of risks and issues in a project. No, definitely not, because we treat risks as, on each iteration, and we treat risks as, as user stories anyway. So this is not an issue. Iterations can be counterproductive for projects that require high degree of flexibility. On the contrary, this is an advantage. D. Iterations can be counterproductive for projects because they require regular feedback. Anyway, the whole agile approach hinges on feedback from the customer. So the best answer is A. Question 8.
A construction project manager is finalizing the schedule, budget, and deliverables. During planning, they met stakeholders to outline high-level objectives and gather requirements, and must document all required deliverables and activities in a structured format the team can use. What artifact supports effective scheduling and resource allocation?
Which artifact supports effective scheduling and resource allocation? Project scope statement, maybe? No. There is no information about the detailed timeline. Work breakdown structure, maybe. Benefits management plan. What does benefit management plan has to do with scheduling? Communication management plan is about communication, about scheduling. In the work breakdown structure, as discussed during the course, we build our schedule based on the activities we perform and how we sequence the activities based on the work packages and which one has precedence. This is how we build the timeline. And this is how we know how to make the schedule based on the information we get from the work breakdown structure. So the best answer is B. Question 9.
A project manager is selecting a vendor for a critical project component. One vendor under consideration is their close friend who offers competitive pricing, but the project manager recognizes a potential conflict of interest. What should the project manager do?
What should the project manager do in this situation? Select the French company. Is this possible? Now you have to be ethical and read the document from PMI. There is a document you have to download. Avoid selecting the French company to eliminate any conflict, or disclose the relationship to stakeholder and follow the organization procurement process, or make the decision independently without informing anyone, ensuring the best choice is made. Now, PMI Code of Ethics says you should disclose your relationship and be transparent. So this is a straightforward question from the Code of Ethics. So the answer is you have to disclose the relationship to stakeholders and you follow your regular procedures and procurement process. 10.
During project development, the team ensures the product meets stakeholder expectations by continuously verifying and validating requirements. What project management activity supports this objective?
What project management activity supports this objective? Okay. Conducting a risk assessment, reinforcing user acceptance testing UAT, creating a project charter to outline high-level priorities, creating a project charter to outline high-level project objectives, or holding a kick-off meeting to present product information. How do you know that you met stakeholders' expectations? Remember in Agile, the last step after you get, the demo done, and you have done the demo and showed the customer or the client how to use the product or how to use the software, you should put this in their UAT, user acceptance testing environment, where they can test it to check if it's good for their business or not. If it's good for their business, they will verify it. No, they will validate it. So validation is related to business activities. When we say verify, it means we do this internally, which is quality assurance, but this is no. This is related to business needs of the customer. That's why they have to test it on their, they have to test it on their UAT. Question 11.
A project manager overseeing construction of a large water treatment plant with a predictive approach faces an unplanned delay on a critical foundation task after an environmental review. Stakeholders stress that delaying completion is not an option. What tools should the project manager use to accurately forecast the completion date?
What tool should the project manager use to accurately forecast the completion date? Well, this is an easy question because we know this is done using critical path method. So where is the answer? Yeah, A. Gantt chart is the timeline for sure, but the network diagram has the information about the critical path method, not the Gantt chart. Brainstorming will do nothing, it just will come up with ideas. Work breakdown structure, we can get information, for the schedule, but the answer is critical path method. Work breakdown structure will give us ideas about the details and the activities that we will perform, but critical path method is how to sequence these activities. So the answer is A. Question 12.
An agile software development project is underway. What meeting format ensures the project team receives updates on task progress and impediments?
What meeting format ensures the project team receives updates on task progress and impediments? And we know this is an agile project, and this is an easy answer. One of the ceremonies is the stand-up meeting or the Scrum meeting. In Scrum, there is a daily coordination meeting, 15 minutes, where we mention our impediments to the team. I excluded retrospective meeting because this is when we learn what we did right, what we did wrong. The kickoff meeting, actually, we decide on what this project is all about, and we come to an understanding with the team and the stakeholders. Iteration planning meeting is when we plan for the iteration and which stories we will work on. So the right answer is daily coordination meeting. Question 13.
A team developing a new digital banking platform seeks a manager who will analyze market trends, identify customer needs, and define long-term goals aligned to business strategy. They will collaborate with marketing, sales, and development to maximize customer value, focusing on strategic direction and feature prioritization rather than schedules, budgets, and internal workflows. Which role fits the description of this manager?
Which role fits the description of this manager? So the question is about a manager. So we'll exclude B because product owner is not a manager. Is it then the project manager, process manager, product manager? Let's analyze. Who is analyzing market trends? Who is identifying customer needs and defining long-term goals, which means he has a strategic role? The answer is product manager. Question 14.
On an adaptive mobile application project, a senior developer highlights that the lack of documented controls for tracking progress and changes is creating confusion. Stakeholders have also requested regular updates on how the project is adapting to evolving requirements. What should the project manager do to address this situation?
So, what should the project manager do to address this situation? The question is about documentation in Agile. Actually, in Agile, we prioritize, the software over the documentation. So, lightweight documentation is fine. When we develop a lightweight documentation framework, focusing on key meetings and change tracking, focusing on key metrics and change tracking, sounds okay. Let's say B. Delay the project. We will not delay the project, of course. You exclude this answer. You exclude this answer. We communicate to stakeholders that adaptive projects do not require detailed documentation. That's not true. Because at the end, you have to do this detailed documentation, but it does not have high priority to start with. Assign the responsibility of tracking progress and changes to the senior developers. Nonsense answer. So the correct answer is to develop a lightweight documentation framework focusing on key metrics and change tracking. Question 15.
A project team is developing a new e-commerce platform. They need to ensure all approved requirements are implemented correctly throughout the project life cycle. What tool tracks the linkage between business needs, requirements, and final deliverables?
What tool tracks and links between business needs, requirements, and final deliverables? Right away, you should know that it is requirements traceability metrics. How do I know? From the word tracks, what tool tracks? So, product backlog, there is no tracking there. Work breakdown structure, actually, it is done in predictive, but I don't know how you will link it to business needs. Sprint backlog also you cannot link it to business needs. Actually, the BRD business requirement document has a direct linking with requirement traceability matrix. So the answer is requirement traceability matrix. 16.
A project manager notices some team members are unclear about their specific responsibilities. To resolve this, the project manager decides to use a tool that clearly outlines the roles and responsibilities of each team member. What tool is the project manager using?
What tool is the project manager using? We will solve this question using keyword. See the keyword saying about their specific responsibilities. So immediately you know it is RACI chart. But I need you to remember what RACI stands for. RACI stands for R responsible, A accountable, C consulted, I informed. Or it has another name you have to remember, RAM, requirement assignment matrix. So the answer is RACI charts. Question 17.
A project manager conducting product testing has identified several quality issues and wants to identify and address the root cause. What should the project manager do?
How do we address root cause? We have two tools. 5 why method, where we ask why 5 times, and we can use the fishbone diagram. Fishbone diagram, also known as Ishikawa, and it's also known as cause and effect diagram. So immediately you know that the answer is C. Question 18.
A project manager completes a 24-month project. Upon completion, they want to communicate and highlight the project execution. How should the project manager proceed?
How should the project manager proceed? The question is about communication, it's obvious. They want to communicate and highlight the project execution. So obviously we have this information in the communication management plan. So the answer is C. Question 19.
A software development project using an adaptive approach is preparing for the next iteration, but some team members are unsure how to prioritize tasks for the upcoming cycle. What should the project manager do?
What should the project manager do in this situation? How do you prioritize tasks in the backlog? Or how do you prioritize tasks in your iterations? How do you decide which task to work on the iteration? We depend on the product owner. Why? Because he's the voice of the customer. So actually, the product owner will get the feedback from the stakeholders or the end users to decide. They decide together on this. So do we use feedback from stakeholders to prioritize tasks for the iteration? Or we assign tasks based on team availability? That's nonsense. Or delay the iteration. We cannot delay the iteration planning. Or we focus on tasks left incomplete from previous iterations. No. We will go to the customer or the stakeholders to ask them what's their priorities right now. So the good answer is A. Question 20. What describes this initiative? First of all, we have many projects going on in a lot of regions. Let's see. They share common goals and resources and timelines. Then, obviously, this is a program. Okay, that's how we handle different projects who have common goals. We put them in one program because we can share resources. So portfolio is, if you see there's a strategic goals we need to achieve, then it could be a portfolio. Project is, anyways, telling you there are many projects there. And operations is only part, subset of the program. And projects are subsets of programs. So the answer is program. Question 21.
During a team meeting on a building renovation project, a team member raises the possibility of harmful chemicals being found. What project document should management update?
Now you need to know the difference between a risk and issue. A risk is a possibility. We might have it. It might happen. An issue is current. So quickly you can answer this because it says the team member raises the possibility of harmful chemical. So there is a possibility. So immediately the answer is risk register. Question 22.
After weeks of dealing with conflicts, compromising, and achieving the project goal, team members are focusing on documenting the lessons learned to be shared with stakeholders, sponsors, and future project teams. What phase are they most likely in?
What phase are we in right now, this project? What's happening? We start projects by forming them. Then they start storming. Then they become norming. then performing, then adjourning. So which stage are we in? It says team members are focusing on documentation, the lessons learned. That's the last phase that we do of the project. When we close it, we document and archive lessons learned. So the answer is adjourning. This will give you an idea that you have questions directly on the definitions and your understanding of those definitions that you can recall. The other thing is scenario-based questions. Many of them, like maybe 40%, will be scenario-based. Thank you for watching and good luck in your exam.